At first, the battlefield was silent. No artillery, no air raids, no movement. Then, engines. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. Steel tracks began tearing into the soil from both sides of the horizon. Gun barrels aligned before the enemy was even visible. Crews sat inside armored holes so cramped they could barely turn their heads, knowing that once the hatches closed, there might be no way out. This wasn't just another battle. It was the moment when armored warfare reached its breaking point. The largest tank clash in human history. A battlefield so saturated with armor that wrecks became cover. A confrontation where victory didn't go to the best tank, but to the side that understood how tanks actually survive war. Today, we are not talking about myths. Not exaggerations. Not every tank ever built. Only the machines that actually fought here. This is every tank used at the Battle of Kursk. Why Kursk was different. By mid-1943, Germany was no longer advancing. It was reacting. Stalingrad had shattered the illusion of invincibility. Manpower was strained. Fuel was limited. But German leadership still believed in one decisive advantage. Armor. Operation Citadel was designed to cut off a Soviet salient near Kursk by attacking from the north and south with concentrated armored forces. What the Germans didn't fully grasp was this. The Red Army wasn't planning to stop the attack. They were planning to absorb it, bleed it, and then crush it. Months of preparation followed. Multiple defensive belts, dense minefields, anti-tank guns laid in depth, and massed armored reserves waiting behind the lines. When the battle began in July 1943, no single tank would decide the outcome, but every tank would reveal the future of armored warfare. German armored vehicles at Kursk. Panzer III. By 1943, the Panzer III was already past its prime. Once the backbone of German panzer divisions, it now struggled against newer Soviet designs. Most Panzer IIIs at Kursk were armed with the 50mm gun, effective against lighter armor, but inadequate against the T-34 slope plates at typical combat ranges. Still, there remained numerous. At Kursk, Panzer IIIs were often used in secondary roles, supporting infantry, engaging lighter Soviet vehicles, exploiting breakthroughs created by heavier tanks. Their presence shows how Germany was fighting with what it had, not what it wanted. Panzer IV, long-barreled variants. If one German tank carried the campaign at Kursk, it was the Panzer IV, equipped with a long-barreled 75mm kilowatt K40 gun. It could reliably penetrate T-34 armor under combat conditions. Unlike newer designs, the Panzer IV was mechanically reliable, easier to maintain, available in meaningful numbers. At Kursk, Panzer IVs formed the core striking force of German armored units. They lacked the intimidation factor of Tigers, but they fought where it mattered. Panther, Panzer V, Aus. D. The Panther was Germany's answer to the T-34. On paper, it was everything German designers wanted. Sloped armor, a high-velocity 75mm gun, excellent long-range firepower. But Kursk exposed a brutal truth. The Panther entered combat unfinished. Mechanical breakdowns plagued entire battalions before they even reached the battlefield. Engines overheated. Transmissions failed. Fuel lines ignited. When Panthers worked, they were deadly. When they didn't, they became burning wrecks without firing a shot. Kursk was the Panther's baptism by fire, and it nearly failed it. Tiger Eye. The Tiger Eye was not common at Kursk, but its impact was outsized. Armed with the 88mm gun, Tigers could destroy Soviet tanks at distances where retained fire was ineffective. Their thick armor allowed them to act as mobile fortresses, anchoring German advances and countering Soviet counterattacks. But Tigers had weaknesses: slow speed, heavy fuel consumption, limited numbers. At Kursk, Tigers were powerful, but they could not be everywhere. StuG III. The StuG III was one of the most efficient armored fighting vehicles of the war. Low profile, well-armed, cheaper than tanks. At Kursk, StuG units excelled in defensive fighting, ambushing advancing Soviet armor, supporting infantry, holding ground under pressure. Many Soviet tank losses came not from Tigers, but from StuGs firing from concealed positions. Ferdinand, early elephant. The Ferdinand was a monster. Heavy armor, devastating 88mm gun, designed to kill tanks at extreme range. At Kursk, Ferdinands proved terrifying in open terrain, but design flaws quickly became fatal. No machine gun for close defense, vulnerable to mines, slow to maneuver. Many Ferdinands were destroyed not by tanks, but by Soviet infantry and engineers. Kursk proved that firepower alone does not win battles. Panther III. The Panther III was an improvisation, a powerful anti-tank gun mounted on a lightly armored chassis. At Kursk, Panthers functioned as ambush weapons, deadly if they fired first, nearly helpless if caught in the open. They were effective, but disposable. Soviet armored vehicles at Kursk. T-34-76. The T-34 was the heart of the Red Army. Not the most powerful, not the most heavily armored, but perfectly balanced. Its sloped armor deflected shots. Its mobility allowed rapid maneuver. Its production numbers overwhelmed German planning. At Kursk, T-34s attacked in waves, absorbing losses, regrouping, and attacking again. The Red Army didn't need perfect tanks. They needed enough tanks. KV-1. The KV-1 was once nearly invulnerable. By 1943, that advantage had faded. German guns could now penetrate its armor, and its slow speed limited tactical flexibility. Still, KV-1s were used as breakthrough and defensive tanks, absorbing punishment and buying time. KV-1S. The KV-1S was an attempt to fix the KV-1's problems. Lighter armor, improved speed, better reliability. At Kursk, KV-1S units performed better in mobile fighting, though they still lacked the firepower to dominate German heavy tanks. Su-76. The Su-76 was light, thinly armored, and vulnerable. But it was also easy to produce, easy to repair, highly mobile. At Kursk, Su-76 supported infantry and exploited breakthroughs, often operating behind the main armored thrusts. Su-122. The Su-122 mounted a massive 122mm howitzer on a T-34 chassis. It wasn't designed to duel tanks, but to destroy bunkers, anti-tank positions, defensive strongpoints. At Kursk, Su-122s played a critical role in smashing German defensive belts. Su-152. Nicknamed the Beast Killer, the Su-152 could destroy Tigers and Ferdinands with a single high-explosive hit. Accuracy mattered less than sheer explosive force. At Kursk, Su-152s demonstrated that raw power could neutralize even the most heavily armored vehicles. Why Germany lost at Kursk? Germany brought superior individual machines. The Soviet Union brought depth, preparation, redundancy, and relentless pressure. Kursk proved that armored warfare had changed. The future belonged not to the most advanced tank, but to the army that could replace losses faster than the enemy could inflict them. Kursk was the end of the German armored offensive. From this point forward, German tanks would fight defensively, reacting, retreating, surviving. The Red Army would advance west, and the tank war would never be the same again.